Republicans currently rule the House, the Senate, and the White House, but our next guest has been working hard to tip the scales for Democrats. Please welcome back Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
I don't know about that. They giving me hell, honey.
Yeah, but you give it right back to them. A lot of them don't do that.
Absolutely. It's a must in this environment,
That's
though,
right.
Because they will steamroll right over you. And unfortunately, we see that ever since day one, baby, that pen been going and it ain't stopped. And it's steamrolling over all of our rights and our liberties and our freedoms and everything that we thought was the foundation of this country, our Constitution.
Yes.
Seems like we're saying, well, nope, with a pen, get rid of the Constitution. With a pen, get rid of impoundment and other laws that exist.
Do you think that Americans just didn't believe that he would go with that Project 2025? Or what? What was that? I mean, he said, I don't even know what it is. Remember?
Oh, I remember, honey.
Yeah.
That's not what he said. Sorry, that's not what he said. He didn't say, oh, I don't know what it is. He said, I don't have anything to do with it. He said, I heard of it. He said, I'm here. He said, I don't know what's all in it. That's what he said. So, I mean, you can try to joke and all that kind of stuff. I mean, look, I don't care nothing about her looking good and being pretty or nothing like that. You know what I mean? The stuff that comes out of her mouth is wrong. She's lying. She's intentionally deceitful. Even the way she comes out. This is the second interview where she came out and she's like, oh, well, you know, well, you know what I mean? Like, woman, you are not that upset. Like, stop it.
You know, I remember there was actually a hearing that we had in oversight, and it was right after he said, oh, I know nothing about that Project 2025.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we had a witness, and I mentioned that his name was mentioned 312 times.
Yes.
In Project 2025.
Yes.
So I was like, this is interesting that he don't know nothing about it, but he's all through it.
And you know, if it's his name, he's riveted to it.
No, and he's relying on the people that absolutely pulled it together.
Like J.D. Vance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. I mean, I think that there are those that just said, I want to do something different. Yeah. And so we know that typically when people are feeling it, especially in the economy, they tend to just go the other way.
Why?
The problem is that this wasn't the guy to fix anything. This is the guy that is the king of breaking things, as we can see.
Yeah. Well, Congresswoman, Elon Musk and DOGE, the team, have been infiltrating and dismantling federal agencies. He says he's rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, all while gaining access to some of our most sensitive data. So you sit on the DOGE subcommittee run by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Are you getting any more clarity on what exactly Elon and DOGE are doing?
She can't even get the question out. Listen, interestingly enough, you know, there was a court filing that came out, or there was the order that came out from Judge Chuckin yesterday, right? And one of the things that the White House and the DOJ is currently saying is that, oh, Elon has no power. Yeah. Elon isn't doing that.
He's not an employee, and he doesn't head the agency.
Right.
He's tech support, I think is what they say.
So who's lying is my question. But somebody lying, right? Because they've been like, oh, Elon is cleaning it up, right? So someone's not telling the truth. And I hope that the lawyers are the ones that are telling the truth, because there is a higher standard when it comes to practicing law. This is why Donald Trump's lawyers tend to lose their law licenses. Yeah. But, you know, I don't really know what's going on. And that is why the attorney generals really had a hard time meeting that burden for TRO, is because we can't say exactly what he's doing. But the problem is we've never in this country, at least in my lifetime and in most other people's lifetimes, experienced someone who is so ingrained. And so we're going to have to start talking to some of these people that are getting fired. And we're going to have to find out from them, who is it that told you that you were experiencing your last day at work? Talk to us about these little teenagers running around. Was it one of them?
Well, they're doing it through OPM. Because I have friends that work there, and they got the notice, and they got it from the Office of Personnel Management. Yeah. And so, but DOGE told OPM to do it.
Right, and that's what we've got to get to the heart of it.
I could testify to that. I know all about that. But let me ask you this, Congresswoman. We're also seeing mass firings of federal workers across agencies like the Department of Education, the VA, the CDC, the FAA, even the USDA. In some cases, they've had to unfire critical employees, like our nuclear safety specialists, but they didn't have their government email addresses active anymore, so they can't find them. So on what grounds are, I know you can't make it up, it's like I'm writing a movie. On what grounds are they laying, a very bad movie, on what grounds are they laying off these workers, and how will the scale of this impact everyday workers who are concerned about?
That's how people felt living through Joe Biden's presidency. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's just all I hear is just wah, 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 wah. Because you can have all these gripes, but all they doing is just taking personal jabs instead of attacking look. What do you expect? You gotta remember what you're watching. It's
About the price of their eggs.
And nuclear arsenals.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I don't really know what authority they have to do anything.
Yes.
I walked in and I didn't get to read the entire article, but earlier today, it seems like there is someone who was fired that was the head of an agency,
Yes.
and a judge ruled that firing was illegal. People seem to be surprised that the first felon that we ever elected to the White House commits crimes, but
This is what I'm talking about. Like, don't y'all ever get tired of all the ad hominem attacks but everybody always wants to talk about how bad of a person Trump is. Oh, how terrible Trump's personality is. But do you hear all the ad hominem attacks that they use and that they incorporate into their speeches and their rhetoric? Like, at the end of the day, I mean, like, y'all gotta call a spade a spade. You always wonder why somebody is calling out and speaking out against the Democrats and what they're doing and never calling out the other side. Well, it's because so many people are calling out the other side that it's not fair. And that's just the truth of the matter. That's just what it is.
Or breaks the law.
Right, breaks the law.
But clearly, he has no respect for the law whatsoever. And so, for the most part, it seems like they've been going after probationary people.
Right.
Because probationary employees do not enjoy the same protections.
They lack some protections.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, it'll be interesting to see where the unions go with some of these lawsuits and how successful they are. But again, ultimately, I think that he's trying to get to his favorite court. The court that we know we all love to hate.
Yeah.
The highest court. I think he's trying to get there and hoping to get some cover for all the nonsense. After all, this is the same court that gave him immunity.
That is
so
true.
that he could go out and do some of the illegal things that he's doing.
Do you think they have a limit, though, the court?
You know what? I keep trying to point people to the TikTok decision.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. That's not what happened. They gave him an immunity to operate under the president's jurisdiction. That doesn't mean he can just do whatever he wants, man. Y'all need to understand that words matter, and the way y'all frame these arguments, I mean, you're intentionally being deceitful at best. At best.
So that he could go out and do some of the illegal things that he's doing.
Do you think they have a limit, though, the court?
You know what? I keep trying to point people to the TikTok decision. Not necessarily because of the subject matter, but more so because basically they said, no, this was signed into law, and in a 9-0 decision, they would not allow him to unilaterally overturn it. So we will see how well they hold up, but we know that this administration keeps threatening judges. If a judge hands down a decision that they don't like, they talk about impeaching that judge and getting rid of that judge, and they won't be able to get rid of these judges because the standard is too high.
Says the people that tried to impeach Donald Trump like almost 5 times, I think. Donald Trump has been impeached more than any president in the history of the United States. Hey, come on, man. That's all y'all want to do is impeach. So now that they start doing it back to you now, all of a sudden, oh yeah, look at the example. Look at it. Man.
But he may end up telling some of those Supreme Court justices that are his, it's time for you to go. And they potentially will leave because he did that last time.
Well, I want to ask you about Democrats. You're obviously leading next generation voice in the Democratic Party. And while Trump is moving at this breakneck pace, it feels like signing all these EOs, doing these long-ranging press conferences in the Oval Office, Democrats seem to not be getting their footing on what the message and strategy is to push back. We think of the leaders chanting, "We will win" outside of Treasury, which was widely panned. You've talked about Democrats needing a branding overhaul. Are you satisfied with the approach so far? And what
That was the most goofiest thing I ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie to you. Wait. These two old as dirt. These two old as dirt mummies sitting over there talking about some we will win. We will win. Standing outside. Man, it's just crazy. Talking about nobody elected Elon. Technically, yeah, people did because they elected Trump and Trump selected Elon. So that means that they selected who Trump selected. Like, I don't get when he basically, everybody knew that they were going to be working together. So what's wrong with you? I don't get why y'all think that this is something clever.
What do they need to do to kind of get their mojo back?
You know what? I think that just like the rest of the world, we've got a bit of whiplash because for some people, even those that voted for him, they said, well, we've been here before. And we didn't fall apart the last time he was here, so we won't fall apart this time. And so I think that while we had the playbook right there for us, Project 2025, I still think that even some Democrats were like, oh, well, he's just going to do what he did last time. And he's not. World leaders are recognizing that he's not the same. I mean, he's 10 times worse. And imagine that. This is the guy that oversaw how many deaths during COVID, right? And now we had Ebola breakout. Now we've got measles breakout. Like, this is bird flu, because they were some of the other people that.
Yeah, so that was Trump's fault. That was absolutely Trump's fault. Trump just made all the, you know what I mean? Trump just made all of the people in a certain place that shall not be named release a certain thing that shall not be named onto the world, and it's just his fault. It's just I mean, these people are delusional.
They got fired.
USDA firings.
Yeah, no. And he's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Like, this is just literally not even partisanship, in my opinion, at this point. This is incompetence. And I think that, no, seriously, it's incompetence. And I know earlier y'all was talking about bring back the bushes. I'm with you, honey. Like, listen, I mean,
that was some sense of normalcy, democratic norms.
And I keep saying that,
one thing, would you support Democrats shutting down the government as a bargaining chip to push back against the White House?
It's not, we don't have the power to shut the government down.
Well, to refuse to vote for funding bills.
I absolutely support that we should not be voting for this funding bill, because this funding bill is going to.
Yeah, but they don't have the power. They don't have the power. She's right. At least you know. At least you know. All they can do is just sit around, whine, and complain. That's literally all they can do.
Gut the things that we care about. And I don't believe that we can enter into good faith negotiations with people that literally could care less about their word. We saw what happened with the continuing resolution that kept the government open until March 14th because Elon sent out a tweet that changed the trajectory of negotiations that had taken place with duly elected members of the House, the Senate, as well as the president. So my concern is this guy has decided that after monies were appropriated to literally turn off the spigot of money just at will because he wanted to do it. Who's to say that if we enter into good faith negotiations and we get some of the things that we feel like are good for the American people, that he won't just do what he wants to do and ignore the stuff he doesn't want to do. So I don't think that we should be voting for this. They have a Trump trifecta. Y'all better figure it out.
Like I said, man, these people are they are so triggered. Trump and Elon Musk, man, they live in these people's head rent free, man. I swear, if I could ever figure out. Oh man, I swear to God, man. I'm sorry, but man, if I ever figured out how to live in y'all heads rent free, I'm gonna be rich.